Hi everyone, welcome to season 2 of There Is More to Be Done. My name is Anam and I am a psychology enthusiast. I'm here to share some simple strategies with you from the toolkit that I have created through life experiences and learnings for the moments where we feel stuck and don't know where to go from here. In this podcast, once in 2 weeks, I talk about different topics that'll help you develop confidence, give you a fresh new perspective, and develop a unique personal brand for yourself. Let's get started. Today, I want to talk about feedback. Learning to take feedback is such an underrated skill. As children, we often take feedback as a negative experience because it always seems so unpleasant. Majority of the time, feedback is when we get scolded, when we're told what we've done is wrong and was not acceptable or is not up to the standards. As such, these are not great memories. Michelle Skeen, a psychology doctor, talks about how we growing up built up schemas in our head. Schemas are structures that allow us to process information. Everything that we see and receive, and how growing up, based on our experiences, these schemas can be built in a way that might not be very constructive to us. For example, if we grew up thinking that every time someone giving us an opinion on our work is always going to be negative, because growing up we had critical parents or family culture where we never felt good enough, we are going to dread the results of feedback of any kind. We're also going to dread difficult conversations because our brains have associated any sort of feedback or discussion to do better as negative experience, where we're expecting it to be a threat to our well-being. Now, bear in mind that these processes happen at a rate of milliseconds. So, even having the awareness starts after the situation has happened. But our resistance and defensiveness is a muscle memory, and that will instantly show up when our fears are triggered. How does all this affect our daily life now? In my opinion, it does affect every aspect of our life: work, friendships, relationships, casual conversations. If you learn how to identify and take feedback, you are intentionally deciding to embrace it. And if you do that, sky is the limit to the opportunities that will open up for you. In my 20s, I hated performance reviews at work because it made me feel like no matter what I do, my manager is always going to find some area where I need improvement and is going to point out something that I did wrong. Nothing is ever going to be enough for him or her to say, "Great job, Anam, keep it going." And I resented it. It was not until I moved to Canada and had an amazing manager who gave me feedback in a way that focused on how me improving in weak areas would open up opportunities for me. And that I can either continue doing whatever I want and stay where I am, or step up and take charge of my growth. She told me that if I decided to take the latter option, she would be happy to dedicate the time to guide me to improve and excel. Her tone and the way of feedback, along with the timing, was it with perfect harmony. Because when this particular review happened, I was also in a space where I was fed up of complaining and just accepting the issues surrounding my unhappiness. I was ready for a change, to put in the work and change my outlook, to do something about how I was feeling. In that moment, when I realized that this feedback is such a gift, that a person who has no attachment to me, no relationship, nothing to gain from me, in a new country where nobody owed me anything, has actually taken the time to carefully review my work and is so invested in my well being enough that she has felt the need to sit down with me to not just point out my mistakes but also have a coaching conversation with me, where she spent time to understand my why, understand what's in it for me, and has customized a training and development plan for me. I'd gone 7 years of my career and university of having maybe just one such teacher in my school who saw me for my talent and noticed that I was not a lost cause, but a class A procrastinator and simply lazy. I was mad at the world enough to not care about excelling at anything. In that moment, when I got that feedback from this manager, I remembered that teacher and seeing this manager here who was so committed to each one of her team members' success just as much as she was in mine gave me a renewed outlook and changed my schema that I had built about feedback. Because the fact is that people have tons of distractions in today's world. There is social media, there is so many other obligations, work, multiple activities that you can keep yourself busy with. But if someone, even a random person who you don't know, is giving you feedback, it's actually a gift. We make products for people, services for people. We build relationships with people. So, how are we going to find out if we're doing all this right if we don't have anyone giving us honest feedback? How will we ever be able to make anything better if we don't ask the questions that challenge us to rise up to the occasion and strive to be better? Human wants are unlimited. It is the simplified, watered down version of marginal utility on which our entire society and human race functions. We're never fully satisfied, which is precisely the reason why we're able to create such a huge technological advancement within the last 20 years alone. We were not able to communicate to our loved ones enough. When we were away on trips or wars, we invented the telephone. We hated to go to a calling booth, so we invented mobile phones. We hated not being able to see our loved ones when we were away a lot from home, so we invented video calls. Everything we do is because we wanted to do better. We wanted to build better relationships and create more safety for the people we cared about. And none of this would have happened if every time somebody created something, we said, "Great job, no improvement required." Ever since I started working in HR, I've always seen it from a lens of how this interacts with psychology. And so, I started applying these work concepts in my personal relationships to try to see if it helps me establish them in a deeper way that I always wanted to. And wow, it changed the way I function entirely. I started to have difficult conversations, but with a positive mindset, and started to view them as check ins. Check in meetings to see, even if there is no issue, how is it that I can improve the quality of my friendship or relationship? And this helped me not only transform my relationship to much more deeper levels, but also helped me grow professionally. People in any space just want to know that they're seen and heard. You make an effort to make everyone you come in contact feel that way, I can vouch you for a fact that you will personally just become a happy person. Because it will help you understand that the negative experiences that you have with people are majority times them projecting their emotional state and has zero to do with your flaws. Understanding that will change your relationship with how you perceive feedback or criticisms. Once you start viewing them from a perspective of how this person who's giving you feedback or criticism has not only taken the time and effort to pay attention to you, your work, your content, but has also gotten so invested that they made the time to come to you and initiate a conversation with you about it. And isn't that what we all want in some way, though? For our work to be noticed, for our work to be acknowledged, for someone to be on our side and cheer us, motivate us to do even better, so that everyone can join in seeing how our work has an impact on this world. something that will remain long after we have passed on. I will conclude with something very profound that Simon Sinek said in a recent podcast episode of A Diary of a CEO. He said that in his company, he has a sort of rule that whenever anyone gets feedback, good or bad, they all have to say thank you. And he pointed out that the reason he says that is because feedback only pokes you bad when it's true. And it triggers you. Otherwise, if someone gives you a feedback that you think does not apply to you, you simply don't pay attention to it. Listening to that, I felt, wow, that's actually so on point. If you see feedback with that perspective, there is really nothing to lose. We only gain valuable information that'll help us either to think differently or to do better. I hope that this episode has given you a fresh perspective in motivating you to change your perspective on feedback and see it for the gift that it is, which can help you become great in every aspect of your life. And with that, I would love to always get some feedback for this podcast and episode 2. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and found it helpful. Please do share this episode with someone you care about if you think it'll help them too. Your feedback is essential to let us know what are the topics that you want me to cover in the future and what is it that you enjoy the most. So please feel free to leave your feedback in the comments. Thank you for tuning in. For more content, please visit thereismoretobedone.com. Link is in the description for you. This is Anam, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Keep learning, keep growing.